Thank you for making your way up here on a misty morning over the rocks. I welcome you here on this Thursday of our midweek retreat. I'm Telos, and I have the ongoing honor of standing before you in the morning, so I welcome you in. I don't know if we have any announcements before Sarah has one in her rainbow jacket.
We have our final social of this retreat at 5 o'clock, and the sun is supposed to reappear. So it will be on Lindquist Terrace, or there will be a note there letting you know where it is. Also, I hate to mention it, but it's time to think about paying your bills this evening or tomorrow morning. And if you're so inclined, there are envelopes for making a donation to STAR, which we should talk about in this retreat. We all know how important it is. And just one other thing. Luggage world. Oh yes, thank you. Very important. We are asked to be out of our rooms and have our luggage in the same place we found it by 11 in the morning. Our boat on Friday leaves at, please be down to the boat by 2:30. Boat technically leaves at 2:55, but you're supposed to be out of your room so that the staff can get ready for the beach coming on the weekend by 11. Is it 11 or 8? It's 11. 11. It's 11. Out of your rooms and your luggage. You can leave your carry-on in either sandpiper or on the porch under the table around the area where the lanterns are. It's safe. Nobody's ever lost anything as far as that.
Isn't that one of the pickup sites?
Well, yeah, okay. So maybe a little part of it.
In the lobby.
Yeah.
In the lobby, maybe.
Their place.
Yeah. And if you have a question about timing, maybe we'll make our board pretty clear so that people know. Our service tomorrow morning will be at 9 as usual. So we'll have time, we'll have an hour or even, a Quaker meeting and then some time to get your bag ready to be put back at the place you found it is the key. Put your bag back where you found it, your suitcase.
And chapel this evening is once again 7:45. Thank you.
Mary Lou will offer our chalice lighting to begin our service.
I thought I heard the voice of the Spirit cry, "Come and find me." You won't have to look hard. Come to where the ocean touches the shore. Find me in the bright light promise of morning on the waves. Look carefully at the bubbles breaking on the wet sand. There I am. Turn over the glistening rock, slippery with its crushing of seaweed. Here I am. Hear the gulls crying news of the endless ocean. That is my news, my voice. Lie with me in the tall green marsh grass. See my footprints in the sand. You have walked upon them. Do not say I am lost, for you have found me. I am here.
Our informal title for this morning is Waves of Compassion. Yesterday we were in that troubled peace, and this morning we'll let those waves wash over us if you can. And if you bring to mind an encounter with kindness an encounter with compassion, either bestowed upon you or you had the opportunity to offer. Let's bring those moments, those images to our minds right now. And I had a lovely conversation with Stephen yesterday, and he reminded me, and he does that so well, that it helps if there's a tangible image or description. So I will begin by saying that it happened for me this morning with the loaded plate of bread and bacon and oatmeal and juice. And as I went along carrying the plate, many hands reached out. Can I help you carry? Can I help you carry? So mine is the outstretched hand reaching out to, and my answer was basically a refusal of help, and I have a long way to go. So I have something to learn about accepting the help. But someone else, an image of that compassion or kindness, since you've been here, or it can be before you arrived.
Well, it's a little thing, but I was really touched that even though Anne was only going to be working on a knitting project for herself this week, that she brought her reading supplies because she knew I would need, that I would have brought something to repair, and that I would need her tools that are better than mine, her little filings. And I was really touched by that.
Candy brought her name card making supplies to the island to finish, the last one. And it was, just right before she left, she made the last two name cards. It was just amazing. It's wonderful contribution.
And she painted, the color inside the line is painted.
And I have to tell you that Candy once gave me a T-shirt that said, "Vote blue, no matter who." So if you notice, the predominant color, which is not an accident, on our name cards is what's my number. So you can count on these issues, but the spirit of Candy.
Well, Sarah very, very kindly picked me up from where I was dropping off my only transportation, a U-Haul cargo van in Brentwood, New Hampshire, brought me to the hotel, brought me to where my friend would take me, and kept her things in my car overnight. This was, and not only that, wrote to me before midweek and said, by the way, registration is closed, but there's still a spot for you. So call my pray, and were it not for that kindness, I would not have come. So, well, no, I talked to Mike, and so, but I didn't know if I could come. So that was really a blessing, tremendous blessing.
Couple more. It could be a one word or I have one, injured muskrat, and Jennifer's care of that, being the third person to let them know that there was an injured muskrat on the island. So the care of that was sweet to hear. care of that creature. So,
This is our first trip to Star Island, and we had more questions than we thought we could get answers to, and Mike is the most patient person I have ever worked with in my life. He was just fantastic.
After coming here for a number of years, it's so great to sit in this chapel and have access to nature. And the tree outside the chapel, how it's been cared for. It used to only grow to the center window, and now it's reached all the way over to the other one. And the way they cut it, to look from the inside, is quite beautiful.
let those waves of images and waves and sense of compassion and kindness that we can bestow on ourselves in the form of gentleness and on others in the form of patience, of care, of love, of healing. There's so many ways to silently and powerfully offer that to each other. And it feels palpable here. It feels like we're given that opportunity to practice in that deep way of compassion. So our blessing for this morning from our John O'Donohue. I know yesterday's was a little bit complex, I realized. So, this is for presence, and each is a blessing. So he's offering this one for presence. Awaken to the mystery of being here, and enter the quiet immensity of your own presence. Have joy and peace in the temple of your senses. Receive encouragement when new frontiers beckon. Respond to the call of your gift and the courage to follow its path. Let the flame of anger free you of all falsity. May warmth of heart keep your presence aflame. May anxiety never linger about you. May your outer dignity mirror an inner dignity of soul. Take time to celebrate the quiet miracles that seek no attention. Be consoled in the secret symmetry of your soul. May you experience each day as a sacred gift woven around the heart of wonder. Did you see the muskrat in there? And the butterfly, and the hands, and the French toast, and the bacon. Let's see where we are. We're coming to the end of this story. Okay. And we were at the place where the young son was wondering how he would learn. He was watching and trying to learn, he said. And they were at the place of finding this largest of tears. I look and see the biggest tear yet, as large as a hen's egg, nearly as large as my fist. Go ahead, he said, still smiling. I set the basket down and reached for the tear. I twisted off carefully but quickly, just as I have seen him do it. I hold it in my palm, turn it over and sniff its sharp, bitter sweetness. later, we walk to the market. It's after midday when we arrive. The spice merchant waves and calls to us. I've been waiting for you. Inside his tent, there are 3 men drinking tea. They wear fine robes, red and gold and blue. I've never seen such robes before. The spice merchant says to his customers, "This is the man I was telling you about." The man in red greets my father. "We are buying gifts," he said. "We have some already, but we wish to buy one more, something special." My father nods at me. I give the basket to the merchant. With practiced fingers, he culls through the tiers and places several of the largest on a cloth. In the center is my tier. The 3 men examine the tiers. They speak to one another in a strange language. Finally, they look at the merchant and my father, and they nod. "We have a gift of gold, a gift of frankincense," says the man in red. "Now we will add to them a gift of myrrh." As the spice merchant wraps the tiers, he says, "May I ask who the gifts are for?" I am glad he asked, for I want to know too. The man in red does not speak for a moment. Then he says, "The gifts are for a baby." I frown a little. Myrrh is a strange gift to give a baby. But of course, I say nothing. And I am proud that my tier, the one I harvested, is to be part of the gift. I watch the 3 men mount their camels. I watch them leave the marketplace. I watch them ride into the desert. And I wonder about the baby. We are living through times, unpredictable times, times of crisis, and the weight can feel enormous. Each of us is sharing in that carrying. The anxiety, the responsibility. We have climate change, and we have the needs. We have the gaping expanse of needs. We have the rapidly changing times. We have Joanna Macy and climate justice leaders. We have scientists and poets and peace activists. And they all are calling to us, wake up, pay attention, hurry, be in this moment as fully as you can. Embrace the pain and the responsibility. However, we can impact the tides of our own deeds, whatever small or large way. You've heard me say this again and again. And if you haven't, hear it again. We're in this together. So those brief moments of kindness and compassion is all part of that fabric. It's as if we each see this expanse, this opening, this gap that we need to get from here to there. Without there's no clear bridge, there's no clear path, or only the beginning of a bridge. And we know that the building of the bridge cannot possibly be done by me or any of us alone, even though offers of help, I can carry this alone. No. What if you'd accepted the offer of help, even for this simplest of carrying of a breakfast plate? I pondered it as I walked alone up the hill. Why did I say no to that person and that person and that person? Then realized the plate was really heavy. And so the building of that bridge of strength, of compassion, can only occur if each of us is awake. If all of us are able to offer that care and compassion to ourselves first. The hardest of practices, or it can be. And then to each other, the ones that are here that we can see and touch. And that practice goes out, just like the waves of the tide. The world is impacted. Star is impacted, we know that. We help build the compassion that's already in these stones every time we're here. But then it goes out and out. But I know myself, as soon as I begin hearing someone speak words or open a reading that is sobering and dire and painful and real, I feel like my energy ebbs away from me. The flooding, the tides, the extinctions. I can feel my body contract. I feel the weight becoming heavier and heavier. But the one speaking, the speaking needs to happen. And the ability to see that the weight is not ours to carry alone, that the weight has to be shared, that our eyes opening is an opportunity to open another's and another's and another's. So it is that facing of reality. We know this is happening. Do we not want to hear it? Of course. Are we pained deeply by the struggles and the unfolding crisis? Of course we are. Are we able to imagine embracing the reality and a belief in that wider compassion, a belief in something larger than ourselves that exists beyond human form? If we have the courage to see what needs to be done, who needs to be called to account, how do we increase our capacity to be those justice seekers, earth activists? For it is beyond, far beyond communities, countries, borders. We are collectively holding the earth in our hands. Just imagine that. I've had the honor of being able to go to 3 mindfulness retreats over the past 18 years, and to be in the presence of Buddhist leader and peace activist Thich Nhat Hanh. And at every retreat, he will find the opportunity to talk about dishwashing, washing your dish. Think about it. I mean, he's a living saint, and yet he knows that a way to get through to the people that are hearing him, to get inside them, is to offer something as basic and as daily. And often, of course, he talks about the breath all the time. We breathe in, we're here, we breathe out, we're home. But there's something about that that is symbolic, like Stephen was trying to hammer into me yesterday, you know, that it's too symbolic, it's too universal. It's hard to realize it. But the washing of the dish, and he would say, as you're washing your dish, imagine you're washing the baby Buddha. He wouldn't say just a baby, you know, but the care that for us, I mean, washing any baby, we should feel like we're holding the earth in our care, that it's that dear, beautiful practice. But imagine having the honor to wash the baby Buddha. Imagine how we would hold that dish with such care, right? So imagine if in all that we did, we were taking that deep care. If we weren't able to, if someone offers us help and we refuse, what then can we do to offer that help? We can send our thought to them to say, may their feet find a steady path. May she not drop the plate. May she look over and see the humped stone. We can send those, whatever you want to call them, prayers, waves of compassion, care, kindness. And that will help to heal the earth. When I look into your eyes and hear your voices here, especially, I like to imagine your words, your stories, as threads of beautiful colored light that you're offering and that we are collectively weaving into this star tapestry. It isn't always easy to listen, even. It's not easy to wash a dish as if you were washing the Buddha. It's not easy to listen in that deep way. You know what I'm talking about. It's almost impossible. Someone's telling me a story, and am I able to be in that moment with them, or am I worrying about someone else, something else? Am I ahead? Am I behind? It's a practice, and it's difficult. But facing that moment, being in that moment, allows those interactions to take on a deeper meaning, to impact and change us. And all of our daily tasks and interactions have that opportunity, have that possibility to come from that place of presence and of compassion. And it will grow our courage. We will then be able to hear our own voice, speaking our own truth, and allow ourselves to be amazed. That's my voice. I'm sharing my story, my truth, my pain. I heard Sarah say it last night. The Quaker circle allows openings for divine truth to come in and go out, allowing that voice to come through the quiet ones, communicating from what I would say is an intuitive, ancient, timeless place with ourselves, with the essence of who each of us is, and with the earth. Stephen shared last night the wisdom of 5-year-old George. Beautiful, magical. And George, just like young ones often are, they're open. They're not wondering, should I or shouldn't I, share my truth of how I'm feeling? No. I'm hot. I'm tired. I'm hungry, right? It's beautiful. It's annoying sometimes. It's frustrating because you need to feed. They need food. They need rest. But we, I think, as, what would we say, smart adults, don't want to burden the other with our, concerns necessarily. We don't want them to, we know they already have their own burdens. Well, guess what? It's burdens that we all share together. If you're hungry, that's the essence of every spiritual tradition. If you are hungry, I'm hungry too. If you're suffering, I am suffering too. And that's where, if we can feel that intimate relationship with each other, with this land, that will not only grow our courage and our strength, it will help in strengthening the life-giving forces that are working to keep things in balance. Margaret Wheatley, who some of you may have read her books, heard her speak, she believes wholeheartedly that what is going to save the world is simple conversations, not intellectual debates, not scientific data necessarily, but simple conversations. When we work, she writes, when we work for the common good, we experience each other in new ways. We don't worry about differences or status or traditional relationships of power. We worry about whether we'll succeed in accomplishing what needs to be done. We focus on the work, not on each other. We learn what trust is. We learn the necessity of good communication. Most people describe working for the common good as memorable, she writes, right? You think of the time, probably all of you have been involved in a protest, in a walk, you've held a sign, you've held a banner. She writes about that. That's memorable. And often people contrast that with their day-to-day life and work. Oh, I mean, that's for me. I walked a 300-mile peace walk. The images and details of that come back to me every time. But can I remember my conversation last week or this morning with you? Not as deep, not as crystallized, not as, because I think I've elevated that experience of the peace walk, walking 300 miles for peace. I've elevated that up to a higher level. That's more important, that experience, versus a conversation I had with you this morning. She says they refer to their daily jobs as the real world. The experiences that give them energy and hope are labeled as unique or different. What keeps us from seeing these experiences of human goodness and talent as real? Why do we take what's boring and destructive and call it the real world? How do we develop expectations for what's possible when we work together, when we live together? She quotes the Tao Te Ching, and that was written or orally written down and shared 2,600 years ago, that the good becomes common as grass. Right? And you can turn that to the opposite. The dish becomes the baby, becomes enlightenment, becomes a prayer practice, the washing of the dish. She writes that simple conversations restore our hope in the future. She writes of the beauty and the power. She advocates that human conversation is as simple as we can get, but it's as powerful as we need. I've seen that there's no more powerful way to initiate significant change, she writes, than in a conversation. When a community of people discovers that they share a common concern, change begins. She tells a story of solidarity in Poland, beginning with a conversation. Less than a dozen workers in a Dansk shipyard speaking to each other about their despair, their need for change, their need for freedom, and in less than a month, solidarity grew to how many? 9.5 million workers in less than a month. There was no email then, just people talking to each other, about their own needs and finding their needs shared by millions of other fellow citizens. At the end of that month, all 9.5 million of them acted as one voice for change, and they shut down the country until their needs were heard. Wheatley shares that whenever she reads about a new humanitarian relief effort, it's always the story about the power of that first conversation. Some friends and I started talking. I imagine, no wait, I know, that there are conversations here on Star Island that have already begun to build that bridge. The recycling, the addition of the compost bin, the second recycling bin, the solar panels. I know it's hard to witness at times these changes, these improvements, I know. But our home is here still, our land, the land is here. And that is a constant, blessedly, for now. That stays comfortingly the same, but change is life. It's changing, it's evolving. We are changing. What can we really count on to stay the same? So let us be open, especially here, to whatever we feel is holy. Let us absorb the wisdom of a baby that was called Jesus, a baby that was called Buddha, or the babies that we were, the people that we are. Be comforted by words and prayers, but not comforted to sleep, comforted awake, awakened. That responsibility of compassion. Philip Zaleski writes that when we study and practice compassion, may we learn in time, though our efforts and the help of grace, we learn how to suffer with ourselves and others for the sake of the world. Please take gentle care of yourself. Continue to offer me help, and maybe by tomorrow I'll take it. And know that this group, is meant to be here together this week. And may those waves of compassion wash over you, and may you wash them over others. Blessed be. We are going to close with a poem written by a wise one who is, she was in 8th grade. Now Julie Faresberg, I'm not sure how old she is now, but this was a little book of student poetry when a child sings. And this is Julie's offering. And you'll love this, Stephen. The children, the students, the people, they'll be given a line, and they have to finish the line and write their poem. So I think the beginning of this line was in a dream. In a dream I was a hawk, in a dream I was a swimming in a dream. So, Julie's is, in a dream I was a beaver. In a dream I was a beaver that was building gateways from heaven to earth. I was building gateways in people's minds to let the imaginative in and the hatred and racism out. I tried to stop all bad things from happening, but I wondered, will I ever get them out? I dreamed I was a beaver, as kind as could be. There's some beautiful hymns, but there's one called I Brought My Spirit to the Sea. And I talked to a couple of people. People don't know it by heart. But I wondered if people might be up for bringing a hymnal out and singing that together. It's a beautiful one. I don't know what the number is, but it's number 4 in the gray hymnal. And this morning, even if you never have fancied yourself a singer, this morning, your voice is going to sound amazing. So we will, if you, we want to hum it going out maybe, and then we can sing it when we get out in the air. So. Number 4. And it's, the tune is, da da da, wait. I brought my spirit to the sea. Oh, you're not.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we worked, and then, actually Anne said she'd never been to a sticker meeting, and she'd like to.
Nice.
So Candy's, do you have help?
Yeah, yeah.
Candy's dad, did you hear this?
No.
Candy's dad, has COVID, he tested positive, and his facility, I'm not quite sure where he was, but
He was
they.
supposed to move yesterday.
He was supposed to move, well, anyway, wherever he was, they said, you should go home with your family. To take tender care of you, and everybody in your family, just about except Candy, has, tested positive. So Candy has to, Candy says it was meant to be that I should come home
Right.
to take care of Dad.
Is he really sick?
I don't think so.
Good. Because he's older.
He's 94.
Yeah, that's
And
what I was
very
gonna say.
frail.
Because I think we talked about these they're 10 years older than my parents, so
And,
yeah.
and he's, I just can't.
So is Candy with him? He's home?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she's there?
She's there, and her siblings will help,
Okay, good.
you know.
Did she get tested?
She's negative, she's still negative.
Of all
But she's
people.
not gonna be negative for long.
I know.
I mean, the 94-year-old is not gonna keep a mask on. And with memory, because negative pulse control problem. So
Yeah.
I'm, if you see me looking troubled or something, I feel like I'm gonna try to be in a constant prayer. Like my mantra today is to be like, protect Candy.
Yes. Yes. Well, she has some of her own health things, right?
Well, she's having foot surgery in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Huh.
And otherwise, I don't think she has any cardiovascular
Right.
concerns. Hers is mostly orthopedic.
Right. Right. Well, that may not happen. The surgery.
That's true because she has to have a test.
Right? Oh, I've got mine. I'm sorry. I forgot. Yeah, I got my right here. Yep.
The people are outside to tell people to come in.
Okay.
And
If people want to meet outside, I can just run and get my coat.
I know.
Okay.
I only have one, a t-shirt, a sweater, a jacket, and a shawl.
Okay. Okay. So let's, here, here.
I don't know what you're.
I'm just gonna put down,
Oh.
use the word protect. Those can just stay on the altar. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It wasn't, and the question I posed today wasn't really a question that might, well, you brought up Candy with the name.
Oh, that was a little bit inappropriate, but I thought about it later, and all this work with my relative colleagues who are very so close, and some of them actually, sometimes it seems to me like push it too far in certain respects, and I
Yeah.
thought, oh, it's contagious, you're doing it, you're
I
doing it,
know.
they've reached you.
I know.
So, I hope I didn't.
Well,
If
no.
anyone tells you that they were offended by my remarks, just say,
Right.
she's apologized to me, and, yeah.
Right.
I know that. And it's going to sometimes say a little more than that.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
The first, I love the way you personalized the thing with this breakfast this morning. It's great. We
The
all
breakfast,
do
the
that.
curing of
I've
the
been better.
breakfast.
I've been better. I mean, look at the cleanup for the social. And it just makes it so much easier when people help you.
Yeah. It's just a little paper. It's wet. It's a piece of wet paper. I was gonna see if I could pull the crane, but I'm not sure how to work with the very wet.
I'm gonna bring one of these chairs down. I think
a bench